All right, let's get into it. Tons of news and information happening around the crypto space. We are getting closer and closer to Christmas. We are 9 days away, 15 days away from the new year. A lot of things expected here in 2026 for tokenization. Here to answer as many questions as I can today, as well as have a little fun with you guys and tell you about the crypto market. Let's just check in and see how it's going here in the chat really quickly before we jump on in. Let's see here. XYZ, nothing is going to happen. Japan have nothing to do with crypto. It's all FUD. No carry trade implosion. It was due to a war and tariffs, not Japan. I think one thing doesn't have to do with another, right? I think there are some in the crypto space that believes that the carry trade unwinding automatically gives XRP a green light in Japan. And I think those two things have nothing to do with one another. I think if things kind of start collapsing in Japan and they need some type of new system for FX and be able to move that money instantaneously for cheaply, obviously there are going to be some technologies that will stand out. But I do think you're right. One thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. And we'll see how this unfolds, right? Over the next few days. The great thing about the crypto market is if you give it time, it will tell you, right? If your predictions or if what you think is going to happen, eventually we're going to find out, right? And so let's have an open mind going forward. And one way or another, we're about to see what happens, right? It's about to unfold. Peter Sensei, it's 1 year since I watched my first Crypto Sensei content along with others. Now you're pretty much all I watch. Thank you for what you do, Peter. That is just incredible, man. I see you all the time in the comments and in every stream. It is an absolute honor to be on this journey with you, Peter. It really is, man. Just big shout out to you and your family. I hope you are doing incredibly well. Let's see here. Raj says, God bless every XRP holder. I totally feel you. A little bit more here from Peter. Peter says, I also love the community following the channel. After participating in others' lives, Ariana was the first to acknowledge me. Thank you. Yeah, Ariana, can't do any of this without her. She is pivotal in everything that we do here on YouTube. And so, it's part of, creating a YouTube channel is surrounding yourself with good people. And she's definitely one of the best people that I've been able to meet in the crypto space, and just thankful to be on this journey with her as well. Let's see here. Bill Clayton checking in. I really think that banks, governments, institutions are buying all this up, and we will see shortly if there was little for retail to buy anymore. Definitely institutions know what's about to happen, right? Because they are involved in the transition. And it is maybe a little, if people think that institutions aren't pre-planned and are not positioning themselves, then you probably haven't done enough due diligence. So I agree with you, Bill. I think institutions are gobbling up a lot of it. And as prices go lower, they can gobble more, and they will. Sensei, you're the #1 chat for me. I rate you #1 above Jake. Oh, wow. Damn, I like that. That feels good. That feels good. Thank you, Bill. I really appreciate that. That was very kind of you. That made me feel really good inside, Bill. Thank you. Mason, checking in. What's up, Mason? How you doing? Apex Sensei, basically, I want to see if there's a comparison you can do on Perplexity. I want to know if Sologenic on the XRP ledger is performing the same function as Ondo on Ethereum. That is a great question. Let's this is an area that I haven't dived into. So, let's see what we can do here. Let's take your comment here. Let's throw it into Lexi. Can you compare Sologenic to what Ondo is doing? Are the two similar? All right, let's just find out, my man. That's all we can do here is take what your question is and see if we can put it to the test. All right. It is thinking heavily at this point. All right, here we go. Sologenic and Ondo are in the same broad lane of real-world asset tokenization, but they sit in a different niches. Sologenic is a retail-oriented XRPL tokenization and trading stack for stocks, ETFs, and commodities, while Ondo is more on the institutional side. So there you go. They are doing something very similar, but they are catering to different markets. Great question. I'm glad we could figure that out live here on the channel with you. Of course, we got Ariana here, Peter's here, Nicole's here. Nicole took a break from the water cooler. Now she's here. Great to see you, Nicole. I want to hear all the tea. Alex Cobb, great to see you, Alex. What's going on? I love the dog PFP. So great to have you here. Let's see. OSOK is here. LAX is here. Let's see here. Game of Cats is here. Wish everyone here over 10,000 XRP, 10K XRP. Man, could you imagine just the good people would be able to do if they come into like that much wealth? I couldn't imagine, waking up one day and just, I don't know what I would do. Would it be a different day? It would be a different day, but like, would it be a different day? You would just have more options. Let's see here. Dr. X, Robert, thanks for everything. Everybody cross your hands in the air for Sensei. I appreciate you, Dr. X. Thank you so much for being here, man. Husky Tom is here. Great to see you, Husky Tom. Oh, man. Got such good people in the chat. All right. Love the haircut. I appreciate that stuff. Thank you so much. Pensacola in the house. Where is Pensacola? I've heard of the name, but I just can't. I'm not like, that's where it's from. Where's Pensacola? My sisters had horses growing up, and they're so beautiful and awesome. Love to hear that, Hawaii Rider. Great to see you, man. Well, that's what I'm seeing. So I did see, I did share a tweet with my friend here just a second ago. We were talking about the carry trade. Let me just pull this up, copy. Let me bring this up here on screen here so we can look at this together. Oh, no. Did I sign out of my freaking X account? Oh, I did. No. Okay, hold on. Give me a second. Shoot. 1 second here. Is it my new password? Oh, thank God. Okay, sorry. My business development team was asking me for my X password before I jumped on, and I was trying to remember it, and I had to reset my password, and it kicked me out of X. And so I was able to log back in, so we're all good. So here is the information. Looks like Bank of Japan has confirmed it will increase interest rates by 75 basis points in 3 days. Man, that is pretty insane. Here, let me just tell okay, we're good. Yeah, it does look like we are going to see some turbulence. I'd imagine that some of this is priced in, and I would imagine that all of these central bankers are working hard to make sure that it is not pandemonium. But you will probably see some more turbulent markets in the days in the days ahead. Do I ever sleep? Yes, I do sleep. Actually, I sleep pretty good, but I go to sleep pretty early and I wake up really early. If you really want to know what my schedule's like, my wife gets up at like 5, and then so the dog wakes up, Luna wakes up, and so sometimes I have the energy to get out of bed at 5, and some days I have to get out of bed at like 6. And so get out of bed, put myself together, have some food, obviously, and then research. I'm researching for a few hours, then recording, and then I usually record 2 videos, and then I research for a few more hours, record 2 more videos, and then usually the afternoon, use that time for meetings and pushing the channel forward and partnerships and all kinds of things. So get very busy. Towards the afternoon, I definitely take Luna for a walk when it's not raining outside. And, if I can find any time in the day to maybe go to the gym for a few minutes, I will do that. But that's pretty much the day. Going to bed early, though, is the key, as you get older, I think. But yeah, 75 basis points might dip the crap out of everything, right? It's definitely possible. Yeah. I mean, we are, I wouldn't say we're going into uncharted territory, but we're definitely going into uncomfortable territory. And, whereas these trades made sense before when interest rates were at nothing, 0, even giving away free money. And now those trades don't make much sense. So those things will, be slowly unwinding. And we'll see how it plays out, guys. All we can really do is be along for the ride, right? We have no control over central bank policy, right? We have no control over how much of these institutions need to unwind positions and what that will look like. And if the bond market's going to be affected and how much. And there's just a lot of unknowns, and it can be uncomfortable, and I understand that. And you know I try not to get too focused on the intraday things around the crypto market, right? And things that are so much out of our control. I know where this is going, right? Eventually, I know where this is going. And, I played thousands of clips by heads of institutions all saying the same thing. Tokenization is the future. They're here to tokenize pretty much the entire stock market, bond market, derivative market, real estate market, even things that are illiquid, maybe like sports teams, or, maybe a content creator, like an artist, wants to go on tour and they want to raise money to go on tour, and they want to sell shares of that tour, like that's something that in previous times was impossible to do. But through tokenization and blockchain, you're going to be able to do that. Think of sports teams, or even like art and cars and watch, like, I don't know, like, I don't really see a huge market for tokenized Rolex watches, because, if you own a tenth of a Rolex watch, who gets the watch? Is it just in a vault somewhere and you own part of it? Some markets are more practical than others, and you're going to see the most practical things first. You're going to see the stock market, the bond market, the derivative market. And once you get that, really, everything else, will fall into place. But those are the most important things, and that's what they're going to work on first. Let's see here. Steph says all will be happy with Ripple is a bank. So Ripple did get the approval letter to form the bank, right? And we covered this in content maybe 5 or 6 days ago in detail. And so Ripple needs to set up the bank. They need to do the hiring, the background checks. They need to set up the infrastructure for the bank, the money backing the bank. And once they get everything in place, I think there was like 8 or 9 steps that I went through. Once they get all of those things in place, then they will bring somebody from the OCC to give them a final check and approval. And once they get that final check and approval, they can start with their their banking infrastructure. And the cool thing is, I've seen some people speculate online that US won't be the only bank that Ripple owns. And I think if we're talking about Ripple on a global scale, it would make sense that they would expand into other territories like the EU, like in Japan, maybe in the UK, maybe in the Middle East and Africa. I wouldn't be shocked if you start to see Ripple banks popping up, because once you really can establish the first bank here in the United States under the most regulatory oversight on the planet, you're going to be able to go into some of these other markets and do the same thing if that's what you want to do. And since they have the capital, they have the talent, the smarts, the know-how, the technology, I wouldn't bet against Ripple here from not expanding that. But there is no factual thing that we can point to say that that's what they're going to do. This is just speculation. So I hope we understand that. Let's see here. We got here. OSW says, how do you calculate how much XRP is left on exchanges? So it is very difficult. It's all but impossible, because what you see on exchange with the wallets, that is kind of commingled with what is bought and what is not, right? What is available and what isn't. And you don't have like this wallet specifically is for people that are already bought this XRP and it's sitting on the exchange, and this wallet is for XRP that's available. So you don't specifically know those things. And since exchanges are all over the world and there are hundreds of them, it's impossible to know exactly. But we can have a rough idea that some of the calculations that people have done that have looked into this, they believe roughly there's only a few billion XRP that's truly available to be purchased on exchanges. And before the ETFs kicked off, I will have to defer to the Jay Clavers of the world, saying that there's only 1 to 2 billion actual XRP on those OTC pools. I don't have phone numbers of people that have OTC desks or anything like that, so I don't specifically know, and they do not report that. So you would actually need to know somebody at every single OTC desk to get those actual factual numbers, and I just don't think anybody has that real data. But trust me, I've looked, and I will keep looking, but it's not reported. All right. Let's see here. All right, guys, do me a favor. We got about 500 people here. We're going to get into some news. If you get any value from the stream, you can like. If you're on YouTube, you can reshare the stream. If you're on X, I'd really appreciate it either way. Just thank you so much for being here. Let's jump into a few of these things that are going around. So one of the things that we should talk about here is the 4-year cycle. I've been putting a lot of clips into my content to try to educate people on this idea that the 4-year cycle is maybe not going to be here anymore, right? You know, the 4-year cycle is all about the halvening, so much time, and the markets and the Fed rate, like all of these macro things kind of go into these 4-year cycles. And since we're seeing this institutional adoption through ETFs, regulation now popping up all over the globe, especially here in the United States with the tailwinds. There's a lot of people that are calling for 2026 to be an incredible year for crypto. Let me play it.
This is just a correction in an ongoing bull market, and that's counter to the narrative, which is there's this 4-year cycle that was handed from Satoshi, and it exists in perpetuity. I don't think that's the case. So I think on a number of factors, on the macro level, it's all driven by liquidity. And the work that we've done has said that liquidity explains 90% of the price action of Bitcoin. And global liquidity going into 2026, purposely orchestrated by the Trump administration, is all about printing of money in various guises, plus a big fiscal stimulus. So we've got that happening. We've got the Clarity Act coming through. Sentiment is super washed out. I mean, unbelievably, miserably, disgustingly washed out, which people now think the cycle must be over. We can't have nice things. But almost nothing went to new highs. Bitcoin did, BNB did. That was about it.
It came very, very close.
It came close and then close but no cigar.
Yeah.
But really, how can it be a bull market when nothing's gone to new highs? And my view on that, it's been driven by an extension of the debt cycle out by another year. So most of the debt refinancing, which drives liquidity, happens in 2026. So also...
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of... Usually when the Fed starts to lower rates and starts to print money and injects that liquidity into the market, you usually see the stock market up over the next 12 months. And I would imagine the crypto market and stock market will probably have good years. They're going to inject stimulus. It sounds like they're looking at maybe giving $1,000 to $2,000 some type of tax credit or additional stimulus. You know, I don't know how all of that's going to work and if you think that's a good idea or a bad idea, but regardless, when people get extra money, they tend to invest that money into markets unless they need it for something. So, oh wait, hold on. So let me get to that in just a second. Noe, why are you freaking out? You okay? And then here we got Kame Mele Kaliki Maka, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Just want to do something for Luna Fund. Mahalos for all you do to hang in there. Don't mind the trolls. Good to see you, Kame. Yeah, you know what? Hey, we accept everybody here, regardless of if you don't like XRP, if you do, if you don't like me, or you do, you know, regardless, we're all trying to, you know, experience this technology together. And, you know, that creates a bond. And, you know, we can disagree on anything, right? But at the end of the day, we all want a prosperous crypto market, and really appreciate you being here, man. Thank you for the donation. And Luna, thanks you. I really appreciate that. Let's see here. Good evening. What's up, Ann? Sensei, it's dumping. Yeah, you gotta just disconnect. I know it's difficult. And if you're not like here to day trade, and if you're not here to, you know, let's just take a look. You know, I don't look at the market specifically for this, you know, because this is depressing, right? This is stressful. $1.92 for XRP. Let me pull this up here, guys. $1.92. I mean, you know, there are people that believe this is going lower as well. ETH is down 11%. You know, I think this is the news from the carry trade. Look at this. Cardano is down 17, 18%. Wow. Talk about a discount. Chainlink is down 10%, almost 11% right here. Stellar is down to almost 21 cents. Litecoin's down. HBAR is down 18%. Wow. I mean, look at this. Polkadot. I haven't heard anybody building on Polkadot for such a long time. I just don't see any Polkadot news, but I just think it's kind of funny to see it still in the top 50 tokens. Near's down 13. ICP's down 18. Yeah, I mean, I think you are starting to see some panic in the market from some of this news about Japan, you know. And we're getting close to the end of the year, guys. You got to remember that people are traveling, they're not paying attention to the market. And you know, some people have, you know, need some money to pay the tax man come April. So you know, people, institutions, they're adjusting their positions, and you know, you just got to get through it, man. Like I know that maybe that's hard to understand, but the market is going to go up and it is going to go down. And when you attach your emotions to the ups and downs of the market, that is a roller coaster that I got off a long time ago. And you know, I know when people put their hard-earned money, and maybe they're over leveraged or whatever it is into the market, and the market's going the opposite way of where they think it's going to go, that can create a lot of panic and stress. And those are the emotions that you don't want to be making decisions with any kind of financial stuff on, right? And this is why, if you are worried about this type of stuff, you should probably talk with a financial advisor, somebody that can advise you on what to do. My strategy here is to, you know, let go. I don't have any control here at all. And, you know, if I cannot time the ups and downs and the bottoms, and I just, if it goes cheaper, I'll buy more, right? If it goes up, I'll be happy, and all of you will be happy. But you really just, you got to disconnect from it. And I know that's maybe a hard thing to do, and maybe you're not quite there yet, but once you get there, I think you're going to be little happier, probably. Yeah, we're not going to spend too much time talking about Jake. I just, you know, a man, like we talk, you know, I've been talking about this with some friends, right? And he who makes 1,000 predictions will eventually be right on a few of them, right? And so, you know, we're all rooting for higher prices for XRP. And some of the stuff he says makes absolute sense, and some of the stuff he says, I don't know. So, but it gets you talking about it. So I guess it's doing what he wanted it to do. You do have NASDAQ preparing to filing a stock market trading for 23 hours on weekdays. So this is moving towards the evolution of the stock market trading 24/7. And then Simon McLaughlin, the CEO of Uphold, says it's in time, all assets will be on chain. You also have Bank of America says US banks are heading for a multi-year on-chain future. I thought this was pretty good to highlight. Crypto policy is shifting from talk to implementation as the OCC, FDIC, and Federal Reserve begin to sketch a regulatory perimeter for stablecoins and tokenized deposits in the US. And Bank of America said in a report on Monday, recent approvals and proposals mark a start of a multi-year transition that could push more real-world assets and payments on chain, told by the analysts here. The OCC's recent conditional approval on national trust banks for 5 charters, including Ripple, is a meaningful step toward federal acceptance of stablecoins and crypto custody, the analyst wrote. The charters open the door for digital asset activity inside the regulated banking system, provided it is offered as a fiduciary service with strong liquidity, compliance, and risk controls. So, you know, when the largest banks in the world are telling you that the future is going to be an on-chain future, you should probably start paying attention to that, right? What's up? Aloha. Yeah, we just started. How did Jake know that Japan was going to raise rates? He's probably looking at the macro picture. I mean, it didn't. Jake has a stream. I don't know what days he streams, but you should go ask him these questions, guys. You know, I'm sure he would enjoy it. I'm definitely sure he'd enjoy it. All right, let's see what else we got here. Did you guys see this news here about the multi-chain future is here? How Ripple RLUSD expands to layer 2s with Wormhole NTT standard. The future of crypto is undeniably multi-chain. Just make sure I got the right thing here. I do. And truly serve both institutional finance and the growing on-chain economy. Stablecoins must exist wherever demand and utility are. As chains continue to build for real-world use cases, the need for highly regulated stablecoins is stronger than ever. Today, Ripple is taking an important step toward that future with a launch of RLUSD in its first layer 2 networks ahead of its official debut next year. Testing will begin on Optimism, Base, Inc., and Unichain in partnership with Wormhole. So this is basically bringing RLUSD to other networks where, it's going to be used and adopted. And I think it's where we need to go here. Oh, you guys talking about Paul's cookies, huh? What's up, Paul? Good to see you. All good, guys. Like, I don't know what you want to say about stuff. I can't even keep up with the predictions at this point. So I'm trying to do my best and trying to just tell you like the facts that I know. And, I was playing a clip earlier today. Here, I think I have the clip. Let me just show it to you. Here you go. Here you go. This is for the people in the audience that this is your superhero. Here you go.
We got Michael. He says, "Hey Jake, I just joined the mastermind and I'm all in. I do 401k plans, so I know what's coming. What's your view on BlackRock?" I'm thankful for you. Again, in a weird spot. Like I don't know how much I could say and not become a problem. I think BlackRock is a lot more involved with all of this than people really realize. And it sounds, based on your question, that you probably know that too.
All right, there it is. More mystique. Love that. What is it, Oscar here? Very interesting meeting with Journey Wealth Management yesterday in Honolulu, Sensei. Journey Wealth Management. Should I look that up? Are they in crypto? Should I be talking with these people? Are they giving you good information? I don't hear many places in Hawaii that are, pushing crypto in general. So great to see it. Well, we have multiple predictions, right? We have the 750 by the end of the year. We have the revised 100 by the end of the year. And then we have, I think, 2 or 3 in January, the start, right? One was like 2,000, one was 1,500, one was 1,000. They're like, I wish somebody would make like a chart of Jake's predictions. Like if somebody has the free time and they can go through all of the predictions, could you just put it on like one Google form so we can really understand how many predictions there are and when they are, and then we can keep track of if he was right or if he was wrong. And so I would love to see the percentage of how many times his predictions are right versus how many predictions are wrong. I think it would just be good to look at the factual data. This and we'll leave it here, but somebody that knows all of these things wouldn't make 1,000 predictions. They would only need to make one prediction, right? Because if this person knows when all of these things are happening, they're going to know when the price of XRP should skyrocket, right? And you would only need one prediction on one day or 1 month, not 100 predictions over the course of like 5 years, right? So let that sink in. I mean, we could come up here and we could say, I could make 100 predictions. And if I was right once, am I someone that's good at predicting things, or do I need some work, right? I think we're going to see if it's legit or not in the next few weeks. So it's going to be really exciting. Husky Tom, can you share your thoughts on tokenization timeframes for appreciation of assets like Ondo, et cetera? So I have no idea when Ondo's assets will appreciate. I did play a video earlier today that says there's a lot of things happening with Ondo in 26. I would imagine as the DTC starts to tokenize securities, that Ondo will be participating. I think that the guidance that the DTC got did allow some of the other institutions like Ondo to kind of move forward. And so I think 26, you'll start to see this start to happen. The question will be in how long will it take them to tokenize all this stuff, right? Because you're not going to, let me see. Do I have the clip? Hold on. Yes, I think I do. Is this the clip though? Hold on. I made a video earlier with a specific clip. I don't know if I closed it though. Give me 1 second. There is a specific clip where he talks, the CEO of the DTCC. Oh man, which clip is it? 1 second. I might have closed it because I'm working on just so much content at this point. It is hard to keep all of the tabs open. No, I don't know if I have it. I have this clip. Let me just let me go to this clip. I don't know if this specifically is the one that he speaks to it, but let me play it and I'll assess it live.
Explain this tokenization service that you're piloting, the kinds of users that you expect to use it, and most importantly, why you want to launch this product right now.
Yeah. So Jordan, as you know, the securities industry has been moving toward tokenization for a number of years now. I think now that we're getting a little more clarity, especially out of Washington, in what's inbounds and what isn't, the industry is now moving at a pace to tokenize real world assets. And if you think about assets as software, it's natural for the industry to begin to look at blockchain as the next generation of software to carry assets. And they could be financial assets. They could also be real assets like paintings and cars and all kinds of different assets. But we in the industry are obviously focused on assets. And what we saw at DTCC, because we sit in the middle of the financial services ecosystem, we hold $100 trillion in assets for the industry.
Oh yeah, here it is.
We saw a number of different members.
Okay, here it is. Okay, listen, he's going to break down why you're not going to have, like, why you need to focus on one way or another here, right? Because you're going to separate liquidity for the markets if you have stuff on both chains at the same time. So listen closely. This is where he explains it.
Looking to tokenize different sorts of asset classes. Some want to tokenize ETFs, some want to tokenize indexes. And we said, if the industry moves down in sort of in a dispersed way, it could ultimately hurt liquidity by breaking up assets. So because of our very unique position in the market, we said it's time for DTCC to begin the tokenization process at the foundational level because we hold all of them. So the intention of the service is that as we go down a path in a very methodical and deliberate and thoughtful way, we will begin to tokenize many of the real world assets. And then that will make it available for the industry to allow them to run on different blockchains, L1s, L2s. So we will be the facilitator or the enabler for the industry to use those tokenized assets in a way that they think is best for them and ultimately their clients.
Okay, so the real question here is, how long will it take them to tokenize all of this stuff? And do they do it all at once? Do they do it $1 billion at a time? Do they do it a stock at a time? That is the information we don't have, right? And so when people ask how long, when, they got to start. Once they start, we're going to get a good understanding of how much they are actually doing and how quickly, right? Is this really going to be a drawn out is this going to take 5 years? I don't think so. Because if you're looking at the entire globe, it's not just the United States that's moving towards this direction. And so you're going to want to get this done efficiently. Maybe quickly is the wrong word, but efficiently. And you want to make sure that you don't have this separation of liquidity and some assets are tokenized, some assets are not. And so I think it kind of happens in a more efficient manner, which I do think it'll be like 6, 12, 18 months, something like that. It's just impossible to know, man. But thank you, Tom. I appreciate you. Fred says, I predict XRP will hit $2 by the end of the year. You might not be wrong. You might not be wrong, man. Your dad is a firefighter in Honolulu. Well, your dad is incredible, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Let's see here. Love you, Sensei, for all the Jake lover here. Now go watch Jake's videos. I thought in your head. Oh, well, yeah, there's a lot of people's opinions that are kind of boiling to the market right now. And, you know, I regardless of what you think about him, I think that he is helping to educate a lot of people on what's happening. And maybe we don't agree with how he's doing it, but I do think he is helping by educating a lot of people that might not know what's going on, right? You know, when he kind of pays to go on some of these other podcasts and all of these other channels for his predictions, you know, he has access to, you know, hundreds of thousands of new people that might not be in the crypto market. And so that allows more people to learn about XRP and to come in. So I appreciate that. Just kind of how we're getting there with some of the wild predictions. I don't know if that's helpful to people, because some people believe everything that he says. And the problem is, like, you know, I've seen some people saying, like, I've quit my job, I've done all these things, you know, like, not everybody is this institutional billionaire that is his client, right? You have regular people that, you know, maybe kind of living outside their means, putting all of their money into these assets that could take some time to come to fruition. And when, like, you promise somebody, like when you say I'm 99.99% sure XRP will be at $100 by the end of the year, if that doesn't happen, well, how many people below the surface have you now heard because they believed that prediction? And that is where I kind of draw the line with some of this stuff, because I don't think that is helpful to the overall health of the industry as far as everyday people. All right. I hope you guys kind of understand the differences there. Whew, man, we can get deep in this stuff, but all good. Chipper, what's up? Good to see you, man. It won't be a stream without talking about this, I guess. You know, I guess this is I should build like a you know, Google Doc with all of these different things that I could just be like, hey, go check the Google Doc. But I think we're all hoping for some good stuff. Let's see here. Kenjuro, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. And Nicole says, let's see. We have Japan raising rates. Epstein files released. Alien Atlas is coming. Yeah, this is a pretty crazy time. Like the thing that's coming in the sky, right? Is it called 3i Atlas? Yes. It would be great to get some better images of that. I mean, we have the proper technology to see what that actually is, and not giving the information to the public. I think that's probably what they want. They want to create this hysteria and confusion around it. Let's hope it doesn't start slowing down. That would be kind of crazy. And I don't know, man, that could be uncomfortable for a lot of people if that should happen. I don't think the full files are going to be released on the Epstein files. I really don't. I know there's a law and it's signed in, but you know, once it's actually released, I'll believe it when I see it. But I don't know. They've done everything they can to not make this happen. I wouldn't assume that anything's a given at this point. Yeah, Friday will be an interesting day, I guess. So many different things happening on Friday. Oh my goodness, it's going to be a crazy stream on Friday. Not sure what to focus on. I mean, when you're being held hostage by something, let's say if that's accurate, why not release it? You know, then nobody has anything over you. But like not releasing it, that's where like people start to speculate and they start to imagine what's in there rather than just doing it and then dealing with whatever it is, right? Because I'm sure it's bad for both sides. But at this point, I think people just want to know the truth. Pushing that forward and just whatever it is, right? It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. But the victims want it released and the general public wants it released. So at that point, you just need to bite the bullet and do what's good for the country so people can have closure and move on. That's my personal opinion. I don't really talk about those type of things because it doesn't have anything to do with crypto. But since, you know, somebody brought it up, that is how I feel about it. Let's just get it out and move on. You know, it's aliens. Solomon, thank you so much. You might be right. I think it's kind of crazy to think that we're the only beings in the entire universe with how many planets and different galaxies there are. I would imagine that we are not the superior species out here. It would just be crazy to think that. I mean, there are like thousands of planets where life could exist, and I think we just haven't found those places yet. And hopefully we're a little bit more established before we make those encounters, because you know, that can get a little worrying too. Let's see here. Brian says, Aloha Sensei, can you explain how XRP price will appreciate based on the need from institutions? Do they purchase it at a higher cost so they can transfer it? So Brian, I think you're talking about a few different things here, okay? The first thing is, will XRP appreciate based on the institutional demand? So all I can give you is the facts. We have seen ETFs now. We have about 5 products, and we've seen basically about $1.18 billion going into those ETFs over the last, you know, several weeks. They have locked up roughly about 600 million XRP, taking that out of circulation. I've seen some other figures where maybe it's basically 0.75 of the circulating supply of XRP is now taken off the market. So you're not going to feel that yet, because most of this buying happens on OTC desks that don't affect the market one way or another. These are bigger institutional buyers that don't want to affect the price up or down. And so they go and they're able to access XRP at a certain price. I don't know. I'd imagine it's probably a little lower than market. I don't have all the specifics. I don't run an OTC desk, but that's where they're buying. Okay. And there's only so much XRP that is on those OTC desks. And the only way that they can refill those coffers, right, is to either get XRP from Ripple or on-demand liquidity. Right, there's a way that institutions can buy XRP through on-demand liquidity, or Ripple escrow, or you have to buy it from actual exchanges. So eventually, if there's enough demand and you go through what's available on OTC desks and it forces those institutions to finally buy off the open market, that is when you'll see price appreciation. And that's where like the Shane Ellis theory and a few other things can come into play. The order books on some of these exchanges is pretty thin. So if you have a $5 or $10 million order for XRP, it would blow through a lot of the levels, right? And so you could see XRP go from 2 to 5 or 2 to 10 pretty quickly if that demand is there. Now, your second question is, well, kind of do they purchase it at a higher cost so they can transfer it? So they take the XRP for these ETFs and they put it in cold storage. They need to seed the fund, which allows them to sell the shares, and those shares represent a certain amount of XRP. As more demand comes in, they'll need to seed more and more. And you know, usually that XRP is taken out of circulation unless there's an event where there's a ton of outflows where people are dumping the XRP. And in order for them to dump the XRP, you know, sell their shares that represent XRP, the institution, if the institution would have 2 options here. And I'm not a securities lawyer and how all of this works, but I would imagine they have 2 options. One is they probably have a fund where they can, you know, shore up some of that selling pressure with just money, right? A fund of money. And if it kind of, they don't have that fund, they would actually have to sell the XRP to then pay back whatever the shares the person is selling. So it's kind of like a, you know, dual thing there. I'd imagine that most of these institutions want to take this XRP and lock it away for a long time. And, you know, I don't know how each individual institution is set up, but that's roughly to answer your question. I hope you got some value. Let's see here. Will for us. Yes, I'm 99% certain that microeconomics align, simple to understand. It's that crazy at all. Yeah. I mean, if you're paying attention, which I think you're talking about the carry trade unwinding. If you're paying attention to like what was going on in Japan's economy with the new leadership coming in, you know, stagflation, all these different things that are happening there, I would imagine that somebody paying attention to that very closely, somebody building a theory on it, is going to know what's going to happen. So, you know, Jake is a very smart person. He was paying attention, and, you know, he's right about that happening. Now, does it involve XRP? That's like a totally different situation. Sebastian, great to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Zeus, I appreciate you. Great to see you, Zeus. Luna is sleeping. She is tired. I've been going back and forth from the office to the couch. Oh, you know what? I was like, why is it so dark in here? There you go. Let there be light. I was like, am I sitting in a dark room? Yeah, she's tired. She's going to be sleeping for the next hour here as we talk some more here. I'm fit to be a so-called sensei. I appreciate that. Actually, the name came from my community. Actually, when I first got into crypto, it was a part of me that got unlocked that I didn't know existed. And I was so eager to tell people about this and educate people about this. I created I think it was like a group me back then. Like this was 5 years ago. And that eventually turned into the Discord Cryptonaires. And, somebody from that group me actually said, you're like a crypto sensei. And that's where the name actually came from. And so I was like, that's a cool name. I kind of want to use that name, and the name stuck and I just kept with it. Oh my God, Paul, you're so funny, man. I'm gonna have to try one of these cookies one day, Paul. I feel like. Did Nancy Pelosi's husband buy $1 million worth of XRP a few days ago? I didn't see anything about that, but seems like they're always positioned pretty well before something happens. I think they're trying to stop people in Congress and people in the Senate from using inside information and profiting from it. I was seeing some stuff. Does anybody watch the Sean Ryan show and what's going on with that? Oh man, I thought that was pretty crazy. There's all kinds of abuse and things like that. What's your real name? Jalen? Jalen is my business development manager. So if you've sent me an email and somebody named Jalen has responded to you, that is my business development manager. Any black swan in the making? You always got to be prepared for black swan. That's the crazy thing about crypto and the markets. You never know when one's going to happen. You can see some cracks in the system, but really, you just have no idea. Like the last thing with what happened with Binance. I mean, who had the technical infrastructure know-how to know that was going to happen? I'd imagine only a few people at Binance probably knew that their systems weren't where they probably should have been. And usually black swan events happen due to a failure of technology. Could be greed or somebody committing some type of crime by taking advantage of a certain position in a market. And sometimes big institutions see an opportunity to make money and shorting the market by collapsing a portion of something. Some of it is legal, some of it is illegal, and I will leave that up to the authorities and the law people, to figure all of that. But it is a very interesting time to be in crypto. I mean, I think if you've been in crypto for the last 4 or 5 years, a lot of crypto is overpromise, underdeliver. Lack of education, lack of community building, lack of being able to take an idea and put it to, build the technology around that and actually market that idea and bring people in. And, a lot of promises are made in the crypto space and very, very few projects can deliver on those promises. And the teams that are able to deliver at scale, those are the teams that are going to build multi-billion-dollar ecosystems and already have. And, there's a lot of really smart people in the crypto space. And then there's a lot of people that are just here to make a buck. And you just need to make sure that you're not following and listening and being sucked into the people that are here to take your money, right? Because there are a lot of those people. Hey, Sensei, evening from Scotland. Great to see you. Do you think the slot for those 1,700 NDAs includes promises, XRP escrow? So just really quickly, it's not 1,700 NDAs. It's 1,700 contracts. Some of those contracts are NDAs. So, when I first got into this and years ago, I understood it as 1,700 NDAs. Upon researching this, for years, I know that it's not 1,700 NDAs. Let me just show you this and just give you some additional context here. 1,700 contracts, Ripple. There's a great post about this by somebody. I think it was, let me see. Yeah, here you go. See, Ripple's 1,700 relevant contracts. They're not all NDAs. Here you go. Ripple has over 1,700 institutional contracts per the SEC court filing. Ripple manages 34 billion escrow, US banks, but it doesn't say what the contracts are. Hold on. Let me I've researched this a bunch, so let me just pull something up here. Hold on. Oh man, what do I have to search here to find this? Ripple 1,700. Okay, we're gonna have to do a new search. I can't find it in my library. Break down the 1,700 contracts Ripple has at the court case found. Let me just break this down for you really quickly. All right. So the 1,700 contracts referenced by the SEC and Ripple lawsuit, the nature of the contracts. The contracts were preliminary with sophisticated buyers, including hedge funds, financial institutions, and involved direct sales of XRP in exchange for money and other considerations. Each contract typically included provisions such as lockups, resale restrictions, indemnification clauses, and sometimes explicit statements that XRP was not being purchased for the use of Ripple services, reinforcing the investment of the nature. There was also some of the stuff was contracts that Ripple had, court rulings, the court determined, the SEC argued. The contracts are not publicly available due to the confidentiality and NDA agreements, but their extensive and general structure were revealed. Some of these were like contracts that Ripple had with their employees to pay them in XRP as well. So like, it's not all NDAs, but a lot of, like, I'd imagine that a large portion of it is. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that some of those are just regular contracts and some of those are NDAs. So to answer your question, yes, I would imagine that a lot of institutions have already worked out a deal with Ripple. It would have been better to work out a deal with Ripple during the lawsuit than right now. Obviously, you're going to be able to get more for your dollar. But yeah. Hey, Sensei, do you have any good cannabis clubs on the island? I don't know too much about cannabis clubs on the island. You know, I do have some friends that I know on the island that do partake, and it seems like there is plenty to go around here. And I know like we have a pretty decent climate for that type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know too much about the clubs or any of that stuff, my friend. Is that the real Encash? What's up, dude? Is that real Encash? If that's a real Encash, what's up, man? Great to see you. I thought Encash was AI. No, Encash is not AI. He just I don't have a friendship with him, so I don't know why, but he just doesn't like to show his face, which I get. You know, some people in crypto, they want to add value, they want to educate, they want to help people, but he's not AI. He's a real person, and he does a lot of really good hard work, man. If you haven't seen all the stuff that he does on his channel, he covers a ton of different stuff. So definitely we're somebody worth taking a look. And if you're not familiar with who I'm talking about, let me just bring up his channel really quickly so we can all take a look here. So here we go. So this is Encash's official channel. And so, I mean, he covers all kinds of stuff, right? He covers XRP, he covers HBAR, he covers XDC. I mean, like, he really has a good grip of understanding what's going on in the market. And I learned a lot from him as I was kind of coming up on my knowledge too. So definitely a channel worth checking out. Definitely. Oh, Trust the Hearts. Great to see you. I hope you're well. Love his videos. There you go. Yeah, definitely worth someone checking out, man. Like, you know, we're going to highlight the people that have been here for years, that have put the time in to understanding the market, who put out factual, good information. Like, those are the people you need to surround yourself with. Let's see here. We got Guardian. Hey, Sensei, been watching your content every day. I just watched a video on the 589 by Cashnut. Any thoughts on the 589 riddle? So the 589 was really kind of like a meme that started, you know, early days, years ago. And I haven't seen the video you're talking about, so I can't speak to it with knowledge. But, you know, there's all of these different theories and lore, you know, around XRP. Some of it is, you know, made up. Some of it could come true. Really hard to know what is what at this point, but I'll have to look into that a little bit more. Yeah, I am, you know, if you know me in real life, I am very emotional person, and you know, I wear my emotions on my sleeve sometimes. I have this high energy, but I can also be very quiet, and you know, most people, you know, don't see the highs and the lows. They see a lot of the highs and the energy that I bring. But you know, life is challenging, you know, and I hope that the emotions that I give you on this channel are worth your time and in your energy. Crypto is breaking ground. Let's see here. We got Crypto Club USA. Let's go. 2026 is going to be a great year and the beginning of great things. I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot of positive things, and you know, we've been talking about, like, how long have we been talking about the DTCC tokenizing the stock? Like, how long have we been talking about this? Using blockchain for settlement, you know, taking that $100 trillion in assets and creating a digital representation in this new system. We've been talking about this for so long. And to see them finally taking the steps to do it, it's a powerful time to be in crypto. We're getting closer, fam. Let's make sure you have your cold wallets, get your crypto transferred over. Absolutely, guys. Like, listen, if you're not trading that XRP on an exchange, best to put it in a place where it is the safest. And whether that is Decent or Ledger or Tangem, I mean, there's a lot of people that believe in different technologies, but just making sure that you get. And actually, I was having a conversation with my editor today, Cass, and he was like, I just, you know, I've been working with Decent and I've been working with Ledger, and Ledger sent me a bunch of their new wallets that I was kind of playing around with. And I told him that I was going to give him one of the wallets. And so he's like, I'm going to move all my XRP into this one wallet. And I was like, maybe you should separate it into multiple wallets, you know, separate that risk. And, you know, it's always a good idea to have things in multiple places, just in case anything should happen to that one place. Yeah, see, like Ncash is saying here, you stay anon in crypto for the sake of security, especially with all the dangers influencers are targeted. I mean, I totally get that. You know, that's why I have the shades drawn, you know, and, you know, it can be a little stressful, right? And this is why I tell people, like, I don't keep any crypto in my house, because I know eventually somebody somewhere will try, but like, there's nothing here, right? And if you want to take me hostage and go to the bank, I don't know how well that's going to go for you. You know, you got to be careful. And, you know, I respect people that are trying to make sure that nothing bad happens to them and their family, or they're targeted or something like that. That's a real threat, you know, and this is why you shouldn't be out here telling people how much crypto you have. And, you know, I know we all kind of like to, maybe brag is a strong word, but we like to communicate how strong our positions are in crypto, but you're also maybe putting a target on your back, and there's always going to be someone that's going to look to target you. And if they have your screen name here on YouTube, or they have your X, they can find out who you are and your email. Then they can start targeting you in your email, right? Or start sending stuff to your house. Like, you just got to be very, very careful. And, you know, it's always good to have those extra levels of security to make sure that, you know, your hard work, your investment, your life is secure. See here, Husker Nation, great to see you, my man. Hey, Sensei, I've heard rumblings a crypto exchange could be at risk. You might want to emphasize security. Listen, there's always going to be crypto exchanges that are at risk. Liquidity could be a huge problem in the days to come. You know, obviously, where you keep your crypto matters. And you want to use exchanges that are regulated, that are overseen by certain forces in whatever country that they are in. Do some due diligence, but also make sure to take your crypto off those exchanges, guys. Keep that safe. You only want to move it to this exchange if you are either you're buying more crypto, right? And then you want to move that to your cold wallet, or if you're planning on selling and just leaving your position. That's really the only time you want to have it on the exchanges. Like staking on an exchange, that's not a great decision. Like I don't know. Like that's not something that I'm interested. I know there's a lot of people here that maybe do that, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. But you just got to understand that, anytime you have anything anywhere in the crypto space, if it's not in your wallet, now you're introducing risk. Just be careful. Man, and Lewis Jackson's here too. We got Ncash and Lewis Jackson here. I don't understand what's going on today. Lewis, great to see you, man. Man, I feel like we need to have like a session where we bring Lewis and Ncash and just have a grand old conversation. That would be pretty cool, man. Headed out with the newborn. Hey man, you had a kid. That's congratulations. That's awesome. Ncash, yeah, reach out to me on X. I'd imagine either I'll see it or my team will see it. We'll set something up, man. I think that it'd be an honor, man. Really. Ncash can wear a mask. You know what's funny? I actually, what's his name? Mr. Man. Hold on, let me see. I interviewed him and he wears a Spider-Man mask. And like literally, here, check this out. This is somebody that does really good, puts out a lot of really good research. And I interviewed him a few years ago, and he wore the mask, and I was like, God, that's got to be hot. He's wearing the mask the whole time. I never saw his face, but you sparked a memory in me. So I wanted to just bring that up. Let's see here. Suppression says, hello, Sensei. Hope everyone's doing well. Family's well. Speaking about XTC, do you think it will do well in the future? I think XTC is one of R3's options for settlement. And if you're working with R3, you're probably on the right track. I know they're targeting trade finance, and trade finance is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. I think there's a lot of really incredibly smart people from the XinFin Foundation and pushing for that ecosystem to be big. Currently sitting around $1 billion in market cap. I do think there's a lot of room for growth in the XDC ecosystem. And yeah, man, absolutely. Crypto Christmas collaboration. Say that 5 times fast. Whew. Yeah, we were talking about this ancient facts. Japan's rate increase. How low can XRP go? I don't know, man. But like I was joking around with my wife. I said if XRP goes below $1.50 or something like that, I might have to liquidate some of her Gucci bags. In 2021, I was feeling very generous, and I ended up spending probably way too much money on purses for my wife, and like a lot of them just sit in the closet. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like 1,500 XRP right there. That's 2,000 XRP. You know how your mind starts to think in XRP terms, right? When you're going out and you're spending a lot of money on something, you're like, should I buy this or should I buy more XRP? It's just a joke, but I just thought that was funny that you guys brought that up. Yeah, she would be not happy if I liquidated her purses, but I'm not going to do that. But I thought, I like to joke around with her, keep it light. All right, there's a few more things I want to get to here. You did have Jack McDonald talking about the integration with Wormhole. The reason this is important, guys, is every chain is going to be good for something, right? And you really want to go where the liquidity is. And when you're talking about Optimism, Base, Ink on chain, right? I think this is that Kraken's exchange or a layer 2, excuse me. And then Unichain, Uniswaps. I think this is really where a lot of liquidity is going to be in the future, and having a highly regulated stablecoin is going to be very important. You got to think, if you are a financial institution of any kind, do you want to be working with, what kind of stablecoin do you want to be holding? Do you want to hold Tether with all of these, Tether is very unregulated here in the United States, right? And they haven't been able to provide a Big Four audit of their actual reserves. And so there's a lot of people that speculate something's wrong there, right? And if you were Tether, right, they always talk about they're investing billions of dollars into gold and Bitcoin mining. Why don't you invest $5 million into a real audit, right? And like you would actually, it would do so much for your brand and all of the negativity around you guys not being, kind of like upfront and honest about what's going on there. And, when Bo Hines went to Tether, I was like, maybe they'll start to clean this up. Still not. And so are you really going to say that you would rather hold USDT Tether over RLUSD or USDC? I think once it comes down to institutional demand, they're going to go with the most heavily regulated stablecoins, and that's not going to be Tether at this point. Let's see here. Yeah, I'd imagine that some of it's already baked in, but if they do increase it to the 75 basis points, you're going to see some turbulence this week, and I think that's what you're seeing in the markets currently. Let's see here. No question is ever dumb. We'll got to throw that out right now. Okay. This question may be dumb, but how does an LLC actually hold XRP in regards to validating the amount of tokens? So like, I am not somebody that is well-versed in how LLCs operate. You're definitely going to need to speak to somebody that actually like their job is to set that up. So I would say spend a little bit of time and money and due diligence in researching that. That's not something that I can help you with. RLUSD is going into other platforms, send XRP to the moon. Yeah, I think, you have to understand when you're dealing with the BlackRocks of the world, the Fidelity of the world, the Franklin Templetons of the world, their whole thing is KYC, AML compliance, right? Regulated. And when you have a stablecoin regulated by the New York Department of Financial Services, that is something that you can write home to mom about. Like that is the top level. And then now when you become a national bank, you are the most regulated stablecoin here in America, right? One of them. And that is what institutions, companies are going to want to work with. Now, if you want to operate in the gray zone, that's great, but don't think BlackRock is going to be holding USDT. Like that is crazy sauce. Liquidate her Gucci bags. Yeah, flirting with death. That's probably right. Actually, my wife's the type of person that she probably would say, that's fine. Let's sell them. I think she would like deep down, she would be like this, that's not good. But I think that she would actually say, if it's the betterment for the family, let's do it. But that was just like a joke that we had, She was pulling down like at her work, they're having like an ugly Christmas sweater day. And so in the closet, tucked away in this box is her Christmas stuff. But in that box was like a brand new, maybe she took it out once or twice, Gucci bag. And it's not like a small bag. And, I was like, oh, where did this come from? And she's like, oh yeah, you got me this in 2021. And I was like, oh, can I re-gift that? Can I re-wrap that up and give that this Christmas since you didn't remember that it was there? And so I think like we can all kind of take a look at our lives, and maybe we have storage units or stuff in the garage. Maybe there's some value there that you're not really using, that you could maybe take that and put that to good use and maybe sell some stuff and able to acquire more. Like this is obviously if money is tight right now and you're looking for ways to maybe acquire more XRP and you don't have that additional income coming in from your job or your side gig or whatever that you're doing, there are other ways that you can look around in your life to maybe find that extra money. He said it again. Wait, what Claver's live tonight saying still XRP $100 by the end of the year? You gotta admit though, not giving up. But we have gone from 750 to 100. Has anyone noticed that? We used to be at 750 at the end of the year. Now we're at 100. I just, I hope he's right. I'm rooting for him to be right. Let's see here. Fat Beat says, I followed because you're honest about price action. I appreciate it. been buying crypto before the hype and can understand the realistic value. Thanks again. Absolutely, man. Like, you know, I'm always going to tell you how I feel, and I'm always going to be brutally honest, whether I think it's a good thing or bad thing. Like, I'm not here to puff up people's egos or give them information that I cannot physically research and prove to a point, and like that's what I think a channel should be, right? And everybody has a different idea of what they want to project into the world, but I just like to deal with the facts. Like, what do I know for sure? And then I can base theories on what I think is going to happen in the future. But like all of the different price predictions, I don't know if that's helping or hurting. But we're in it, so we'll get through it together. And we all hope he's right. And I don't know. We'll see. Gucci bags have great value. Yes, I do know that. I do know that. $25 XRP and I'm having a great day. Game of cats. See, like $25 XRP, I think we'd all be having a great day, but you still wonder if it can go to 25, it can go to 50. If it can go to 50, it can go to 100. If it can go to 100, it can go to 500. If it can go to 500, it can go to, like, that's how my brain works, right? And so, I don't even think if XRP is $25 today, I don't even think I'd be interested in selling any, because I know that in the future, with supply and demand, with another billion people coming into this market over the next 5 to 10 years, there's only so much supply, and that supply is going to be ate up. And, shoot for the moon. Rolex is overrated. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You know what? When I was growing up, my dad been in the car business. He's since retired, but he was a car guy his whole life. And he always had a Rolex, and he had a Submariner. And, he was always like, one day I'm going to pass this on to you. Right. And, several years ago in my 20s, actually, I wanted to buy my own Rolex, and I did. And I had it for like a month. And then I saw another Rolex that I actually wanted. Right. And so I was able to sell a Rolex that I just bought for almost the same price I bought it for. And then I was able to buy the watch that I have right now. And like, I guess, I don't have like 10 Rolexes or something crazy, like a different watch for whatever. And maybe that'll be like that in the future or whatever. But, it was partly because I wanted to fulfill something that I felt had like value to my family, right? That like, my dad worked hard his whole life, and this is his, but I wanted to have my own, And so just one of those things. But see, like, I don't wear it like here, I'm not flashy. I wear Target shirts. Like, this is my outfit. I dressed fancy, in my previous life, in my previous work. And now that I've kind of hit 40, I just want to be comfortable, And so I don't need to go out and be flashy. I would actually rather tone down the flashiness and just, $3 to $5 would make you happy. Oh my God, $3 to $5. I'd still be buying probably. I think eventually here, regardless of what happens, we're all going to have like an excess of money, right? Whether that happens at the end of the month, whether it happens next year, or we have to wait a little longer. I don't know. But you're going to get to the point where, all your things in your life are paid for and you have access. And when you have all of this, extra, what are you going to do with that money, right? And some people are going to go buy cars, watches, homes. And some people are going to go the other direction and live frugally and not have the flash and everything else. And, whichever way you decide to go, that's who you are. And that's okay. Personally, I will probably spend some money. I like to shop, so I will go out and spend the money. But after I get that out of my system, I'll probably be looking how I can put that money to good use. right? And you know, having 100 watches or 10 cars or 10 homes, like, you know, some of it's going to be excess. Yeah, traveling would be great. Like I think, you know, it depends how high XRP goes, right? You know, you know, do you want to fly private? You know what I'm watching? God, what is that? I'm watching Sir Hunt on Netflix. You know, the guy who's real estate agent in New York, and they're like flying around on private. Like, I don't know, man. Like I like that show. There's a lot of drama, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And so, you know, I'm just looking at the private jet, the PJ. They call it the PJ. Let's see here. Unusual. Trump orders a total blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. Ooh, man. Yeah, you can rent a private jet. It's probably better to rent and lease, you know, you have a pilot. I don't know. I guess we'll figure that out when we get there, Scott. You know? $50K a flight. Damn. That's bank. Here comes the oil spike. I mean, right now, hold on. How much oil comes from Venezuela? Let's find out. Oil on a global scale. Hold on. How much oil actually comes from Venezuela? Venezuela roughly holds 1/5 of the world's oil reserves. Recent estimates put Venezuela crude oil reserves at about 300 billion barrels. No, but how much do they produce? Hold on. How much do they produce daily? New embargo or blockade. I love researching things live with you guys because it's like I don't know what I'm going to get, and so we're learning this together at the same time. I thought this is a lot of fun. Venezuela currently produces around almost 1 million barrels of oil per day, roughly 1% of global output. So that's not going to cause an oil crisis, 1%. But if you take a look at what's going on with Russia's oil now being kind of taken off the market, right? With Ukraine hitting pretty much all of the oil refineries and tankers that it can in the vicinity of like the Black Sea and what's going on there. I mean, you start adding all of these things together. Now you're talking about a larger supply of oil being taken off the market, but you're still having an excess of oil right now of millions of barrels per day. So it's still going to take, you know, it's going to take us to eat into that. I don't know if it's going to become a crisis just yet, but it is something that we should probably be paying attention to. So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, if like something happened, you know, in the Middle East, that would add to the tension here. All right, here we go. Sensei, look at the events taking place. Oil price will rise. The carry trade unwinds. Jay Claver's predictions might be spot on. He was the first calling these things out early, and we called him crazy. How do I address that? Every day I could wake up and I could say something random, right? In the future, there'll be a short of oil. Okay? When? In the future. Okay, so 6 months, a year, 18 months goes by. Eventually, those crisis things are going to happen. Now, if you believe that's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I'm never going to be able to like show you that when you make 1,000 predictions on everything, eventually those things will come true, right? So those things don't have anything to do with XRP. That's the problem. Like you're not seeing that those things don't have any connection to XRP. Now, will they make oil more expensive? Yes. And could that lead to us needing a new system and how we trade oil? Yes, that's where the future is heading. But like when you like self-believe everything the person says is going to happen, eventually those things will happen, right? There's going to be a war soon, right? Okay, well, obviously there's always wars happening, right? You take a breath. Take a breath. Can you suggest some first steps we should take once some serious price appreciation really happens? Yeah, so obviously I think, you know, you laid it out pretty well here. Talk with somebody that can set up those things for you. If you have the means to set those things up now, that's probably the better situation, right? If you don't have the means to set all those things up, then you have to do it after price appreciation. But yes, trust, accountant. Obviously, we're going to bring some experts on the channel that can to speak to that. But like, isn't that what Jake does? I think like he's probably more of the expert since he has like a family office and these are some of the services that he offers. He's definitely going to be the better person on these things than I am. You know, I don't know anything about trusts or what accountants. You know, I'm just not that person, Husker Nation. Like my abilities and my education level, once it reaches a certain point, I'm just going to be honest with you of kind of what I know and what I don't know. And I just don't have the knowledge to help you out. But those few things that you mentioned are important. Maybe having an LLC where the XRP sits so you can do different things inside of that business is probably a smart idea. You know, setting up a company. Like he's been saying it for years, guys. Like I think people don't realize, like I could go back 12 months, 18 months and look at clips from 24, maybe even 2023 of him saying these things, right? So like eventually these things are going to happen, right? Like, yes, aliens are going to come. You know, one day they'll probably come, or they're already here. Like you could say anything is going to happen. And eventually some of those things that you say are going to happen. That's just life, right? He's a smart person. He's paying attention to like what's happening globally, but somebody that actually knows when certain things are going to happen doesn't make a prediction about different days and times and all of these different things, right? Like if you know, right? You know, like if you have this BlackRock connection, well, why do you make 5 different projections in a 3-month period, all different prices, right? Is it January or is it December? Is it 2026 or is it, you know, 20, like, oh man. Yeah, please, let's stop talking about Jake. I think it gets exhausting, guys. It really does. It really does get exhausting. According to Grok, the current supply in OTC and dark pool will run out mid-February. So hold on. So guys, we need to understand something here. Okay. You feed information into Grok. Okay. If you ask Grok a question that it answers incorrectly, and then you have to feed it information to correct it, it'll say, oh yeah, you're right. Here's that information that you just gave it. Right? You got to understand that AI is only as good as the information that it's like, where's the source of that information coming from? You got to check the source. All right. There's no way to know how much XRP is on dark pools. There's no way. The reason for that is you have hundreds of OTC desks across the entire world. None of them report how much XRP they have. So how is Grok going to know how much XRP they have? People are asking it questions and they're feeding it information. And when people do that, it's pulling that information that people are feeding it to throw it back at you. So just check the source of where it's coming from. I guarantee you that it's not real information. Now, is supply going to run out eventually? Yes, absolutely. Is that going to be in February? It could, but we have no how much XRP is. Like, we don't know if it's 500 million, 2 billion. Like, I don't think it's over that, right? So I think it's roughly probably 500 million to 2 billion XRP. We don't know how quickly that's going to eat through. And we don't know how those OTC desks are going to be able to resupply. right? Are those OTC desks overseas? Can Ripple sell to those institutions overseas and they can re-up? Like, these are all the things that you got to consider when looking at that information. Oh God, Scott, you scare me sometimes, man. You do scare me, man. Since I think that they're mentioning him all the time, keep putting him on your thumbnails and your content. So hold on. Help me understand this. When somebody makes wild claims about XRP price, I should not cover it. I should just not speak about it. See, now you're telling me what I should and shouldn't cover on my channel. Do you think like that is a realistic ask of somebody? Like, if somebody else was making wild predictions, I would cover that too, because I think it's good enough to bring in and have a conversation about. Because there are people that get a little washed that then believe everything that person is saying. Okay? That, like, I've seen people like this before in the crypto space. And I see what happens to people. They listen to every word and they believe every word. And then months later, stuff starts to come out about that person, and then people's opinions drastically change. Just saying that, do your due diligence on everything that you are now asking me about. If you've done the proper due diligence, you'll see some things below the surface that probably should worry you. And that is, I can't really get into it too much because it is a little bit of a poison pill. But there's some things there that I don't have that trust factor that you guys have, right? And maybe that's because I've talked to him in the past and people share things with me. You know, if this like, why has your fund lost money for 4 straight months? If you know everything that's going to happen, shouldn't your fund be positive? Like, because you know what's going to happen. Why is it negative? Why are people losing money that are investing with you? Like, okay. It just gets a little tiring, guys. Sensei, are all financial advisors, in your opinion, okay to look into? So make sure, if you're going to talk with a financial advisor, make sure that they know the crypto space. Because if you're talking to somebody that has no knowledge about the crypto space, I would say that's probably a useless conversation, right? You want to make sure that they have good information to give you, and the advice that they give you is going to be really important, right? So you should be skeptical of everybody, including me. Be skeptical of everybody and everything. When you start believing everything somebody is saying without the facts to back it up, then you've kind of crossed this place in your mind that you shouldn't probably go, right? Like, you got to be very careful, because in the crypto space, people are here to sell you stuff, right? Some people have reasons that they need XRP price to go up, right? If your fund is losing money and it's negative, you need the price to go up. So you are going to say and do anything to the price for the price to go up, right? Do some due diligence, guys. You know, you're all incredibly smart people. But I think that sometimes people are telling us what we want to hear, and we just start believing every single thing that they're saying instead of being skeptical. Just be skeptical. That's all I'm asking. Sensei, cover what you want to usual. We appreciate you. Yeah. Sprinkle a little Flare content. I have been trying to bring some Flare content in. We're actually trying to get the CEO of Flare on the channel. And so I am working towards that interview. I'll follow with my team to see what we can do. Yeah, guys, make sure that they are a legitimate financial advisor. You know, I don't want to get involved with that, right? Because if I start talking about a financial advisor, you know, then like people will go to that financial advisor. And if that financial advisor, like, I don't know what that person is doing in their personal, like, you know, like the last thing I want to do is introduce you guys to somebody that could hurt you. You know, like I'm always scared of that. Every day in every conversation I'm having, I always have my guard up. And you know, your safety and your education, you know, that comes first for me. And that's the most important thing for me. So we got Pavel here. He's new to crypto. He has a few questions. I'm new to this marketing. All right, Pavel, what are your questions, man? Let's go. I'm an illegitimate financial advisor. I don't know how helpful that is. Oh, it's okay. Pavel, what you got? You're new to crypto. How can we help? Everyone's saying hi now. I love that. Oh my goodness. Need that AC to come back on. I'm getting hot and bothered talking about all this stuff. Just like every chat turns into the same thing, man. Just it gets a little tiring. Everyone's waiting for Pavel now. Come on, Pavel. What's your question? We got you. Buy the dips. That's a good advice. You got this, Pavel. I like the energy in the chat right now. You guys are awesome. That's Jake Fever, probably. That's probably Jake Fever. I don't think I've seen it as bad as it is right now. Like with people just buying, like he could sell you anything right now. That should scare you. That should absolutely scare you. The other nomad, what's up, dude? I haven't seen you in a while. How's it going? Still waiting for Pavel. What do you believe the time frame for the reverse carry trade or education, since we have Japan rates? It's already started. The carry trade's already started to unwind, right? Like how quickly will it unwind now with the rates going up? I don't know, man. I am not an expert in the carry trade. I'll have to send you to Jake Claver for that. I think Pavel was kind of testing the waters on the question. What are my thoughts on a guard dog? Doberman or Cane Corso? What is a Cane Corso? Cane Corso. Cane Corso. Whoa. Oh man, that's serious business. I think all dogs are incredible. I don't know anything about big dogs. I got a little dog because of little dogs have little poop, and big dogs, they have big poop. And I did not want to be the guy walking down the street with like 2 bags of poop on a walk. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Either way, you know, that's a big dog. It's gonna eat a lot, and just be careful. Dog coin, yeah, we have a lot of those in the crypto space. I think we lost Pavel. I think Pavel is gone. Eddie, I sure hope so, man. I sure hope so. I sure hope so, man. I really want to believe that all of that stuff is going to happen. But you know, I'm skeptical that one thing doesn't have to do with the other. Like I think all of these things can happen without XRP stepping in. But you know, like it wasn't, you know, and you guys probably know this better because you show up to Jake's chats, but isn't one of the things that needs to happen, isn't it a CBDC for Japan? Like, doesn't that have to be launched before all of this stuff can take place? We don't have that yet, right? Pavel is a bot. That's unfortunate. Is Trump speaking now? I don't know. I don't know. Pavel has performance issues. You guys are too funny. All right. Well, if you guys see Pavel, let me know. I did want to show you this though. The Federal Reserve just pumped $5.2 billion into the US banking system through overnight repos. The Fed said that they're going to print $40 billion the first month. QE is here, ladies and gentlemen. QE is here. You guys see the Swift update that Swift is looking to do some CBDC stuff? I covered that in a video today. Did you guys see this? Stellar, the world's first on-chain disbursement of universal basic income. I thought this was interesting. This is actually in the Marshall Islands. Marshall Islands launches world's first blockchain-based UBI on Stellar blockchain. Wow. The Marshall Islands has launched the first ever on-chain universal basic income disbursement using a digitally native bond on Stellar. This initiative is part of an NRA program replacing physical cash deliveries with digital transfers to citizens across dispersed islands. US dollar-dominated bond is fully backed by the US Treasury. That is interesting. Like Stellar is really kind of moving into that retail niche. I bought 10,000 buy the dip coins for $5.99 to remember that we are in a dip until utility starts. What is buy the dips coin? Hey, Marlon, thank you for the donation. Pavel coin to the moon. You guys are so funny. We won't need universal basic income. Yeah, I think you're right, Husker. I think a lot of people will, though. I think I had a really interesting conversation. I did a stream yesterday, in fact, and I was sitting down with Jack Hartley from Stratex. And Jack is a really, really interesting guy. I mean, he was talking about that he runs some models on what the next 10 years are going to look like, and he feeds it data. Like he's building this model that kind of can predict trends. And one of the things that he wanted to speak about towards the end was AI. And if you haven't seen what he was talking about with AI, it's worth going back and listening to. That was a lot of fun just talking about him. We talked about stablecoins, CBDCs, regulation. We talked about so many different things, and that was a really, really good interview, I thought. They are testing UBI. Exactly. Blackhawk, well said, man. Yeah, they're definitely testing this. They have to, right? I think AI is going to disrupt a lot of people's lives, and when there's going to be certain people, that are unable to work or disabled, this goes off into a larger conversation about who should be on government assistance and who's not. Like, I don't want to get into any of that, but government assistance is something that's going to be more and more. And they're trying to find ways to soften this blow of AI. And that one of those ways will be universal basic income. And certain people will qualify for it and certain people won't. But this goes into, they're going to be able to track your spending and CBDCs are going to be a massive surveillance tool, and in the wrong hands, that could be extremely scary. So, they like, just like the CBDCs that Ripple has done with like Palau and some of the smaller countries, I think are testing grounds, just like you're seeing with Stellar right here with the universal basic income. Covered 10 citizens. Well, that's where you test the technology, right? You test it on the smaller populations to see how the system works. How can it be refined? How can you make it better? What tools and systems do you need to use that you're not, like, what information are you not getting? And so all of this will come into play. And as they build the systems for the larger countries, this is like a testing breeding ground for it. It's an actual meme coin. We don't spend too much time on meme coins here at all. 99.9% of meme coins that I've invested in, I've lost money. Most meme coins you lose money. So we're just not going to spend time, because there's a lot of people here that don't understand how meme coins work and the mentality and the rugs. And, I never want to talk about those types of things. Duchess, great to see you. Where is your better half? Just kidding. Where's your other half? XRP is making banks shit their pants. I think the banks understand that it's important that they are interconnected into these systems, because if they're not, they might not be banks in the future. And it's all, you can't stop what's coming now at this point. They tried, they failed, it's here. Universal basic income was told in the Bible. Man, I guess I need to go back and read that. I didn't know. You eventually have to take the mark in order to receive it. Wow. Didn't know. Oh, you are here, Prince. I was like, where's Prince? All right, you guys are here. Great to see you guys. I owned XRP and subscribed. Pancake, thank you so much. Pancake Fox, you're the best. Uh-oh, I hope I didn't start any drama in the family. I guess I got to keep my comments to myself here. It's a metaphor because I thought it lost money immediately. Yeah, that's pretty much every meme coin that I've invested in. Let's see here. We got anything else that I want to show you? I didn't set up a super long chat for today. I mean, we've been going pretty hard with all the information on the videos. I appreciate you guys. I hope you're both well, So Kenny, this is like the question of the century, right? It depends on like, what are your spending habits? What can you live off of? Where do you live? I know that people that own 10,000 XRP feel better about owning 5,000 or 1,000, right? And you got to figure out kind of where you fit. Like if you think XRP can go to $500 and you have 10,000, that's 5 million. If it can go to 1,000, you have 10,000, that's 10 million. If it can go to 5,000, you have 50 million. If you go to 10,000, you have 100 million. I think 10,000 is a really good spot for some people. Obviously, some people have hundreds of thousands or they have millions, but a lot of people can't afford that, right? And so you just got to figure out how much money you spend and where you think you're going to need to be, man. It's going to be different from all different people. See ya, Big Kahuna. Rich Fabian, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for your support, man. Yeah, I mean, 1,000 to 5,000 is pretty good. Oil spike coming. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that. But you got to understand that Venezuela represents 1% of the total supply of oil, guys. 1%. 1% is not going to do it. You need more. Look up the XRP rich list. All right. Let's pull it up. Let's see. Is this a newer one? August 28, 2024. That is a no. Here's one from July. December 9th. Here you go. So you could be in the top 1% by owning 50,000 XRP. You can be in the top 2% by owning 23,000. Top 3% is 15. Top 4% is 10,000. Top 5% is 8,000. And the top 10% of XRP holders at 2,300. There you go. Mullen Army. Let's see what that's about. Mullen Army. What article? I can't see. I can't copy and paste that out. Let's pull this up. Are we just talking about? I don't know what we're talking about here. What's the tweet about? Let's see here. Art says, do you think they want to take out Venezuela, president like Gaddafi? I think, I don't know, man. Like, I think if you asked 100 people why we are maybe going to war with Venezuela, I think you'll get 100 different answers. I don't think people really know what the intentions are right now. I think that the leader of Venezuela, Maduro, has ties to Russia and China, right? I think China has been supplying them with weapons, and I really don't know. I think that kind of Maduro is maybe punked Trump or is not listening to what Trump is saying, and I think Trump's making a point that, you know, and they've increased like the bounty on him to like 50 million or something crazy, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the overall population here in the United States are not really excited to get into another war. How does that unfold? You need Congress to approve a war. I think all of these things are actions and reactions. And, you know, the problem is the US has, and like, I don't know if I want to get into all this, but if you look back at some of the history recently about the wars the US has been in, when you go into a country and you disrupt the infrastructure of that country, food, oil, you know, anything, you now are on the hook for all those people, right? Because if you're now disrupting the government can't function, whether it's corrupt or not. You're now disrupting the government. And if that government is gone, now you are responsible for all those people. And do we want to be responsible for all those people? Right? I mean, if this was really about drugs, why did we just pardon like the guy that was responsible for bringing in thousands of tons of drugs into the country? Like, there's some of this stuff doesn't make sense to me, and maybe you know more than I do, but most of these drugs don't come from Venezuela. They come from like Colombia and other countries. So I don't know if it's about drugs. I really don't. I think it might just be a big pissing match, personally. But I worry about, like, why are we getting involved in Venezuela when there's other things happening around the globe that we should be concerned about? Like, what's happening with Taiwan? You know, China is preparing to take Taiwan. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, in fact, about this. And, you know, that could be very dangerous. And that could be very scary. And I think getting tied up, you know, where we are right now was probably not the best use for money and time, but I don't know, guys. Like, this is beyond my, you know, you got to go to the pundits on, you know, Fox and MSN or whatever you listen to talk about this. I don't know. Venezuela can be very wealthy if they align with the US. I agree. I think Venezuela has some of the biggest resources of any country on the planet. And I think because of corruption, that those resources are not brought to full fruition. And maybe it's about that. I don't know. This is out of my, you know, spectrum of research. I appreciate that. I try to, I only know so much, guys, and I give it all to you, you know, and I could be wrong on stuff. And remember, like, my opinion is biased off the information that I take in too. Right. And so, you know, there's probably multiple reasons for something, and not one reason is the specific reason, right? It could be a bunch of different things. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. The products for that do come from China. Yeah. Sir Crypto Sensei, I like that. I like that, sir. Let's see here. We got K Dot. What's up, K Dot? I happen to do some research, and my understanding that the tokenized stock market will be running on the XRP blockchain. Do you see that? So no, you're not looking at that correctly. Okay, so you're talking about the infrastructure, and then you're talking about the settlement. The infrastructure is going to be within the DTCC, the DTC. Okay. That's where the tokenized value is going to be. Now, when they go to sell it, right, you may go and use XRP for the settlement. Excuse me. Okay. So I did the video on this just a few days ago. R3 Project Ion focuses on the settlement. R3 has two assets that can work. It's XRP and XTC. If you're talking about the more liquid asset, it's XRP. But those are going to be private systems that interconnect with public blockchains. Okay. So the new pilot that the DTCC is doing is about tokenizing those securities. But the settlement is a totally different thing. Oh, see, like this is always the time that Luna gets up out of her bed and then she goes, and then she's going to sit down and stare at me. Watch. I don't think it's going to come out. Arzub. If it does come out, I don't know if it has anything to do with crypto. I think there's people that speculate that. I've seen some people speculate that Epstein had something to do with Bitcoin or was I don't know if any of that is accurate, or I don't know. I don't know, man. And I don't know if one thing has anything to do with the other, to be quite honest with you. Art, you listen to other people, Art, but I appreciate you. Venezuela is key to the 2020 steal. Oh, see, like we are off on a thing that I know nothing about, man. I'm gonna, you know, let's change the subject, man. We do not want to go down this rabbit hole. Combat veteran here. Sharia law is ruthless, absolutely disgusting. Yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons for things that we do, and you know, the toll on people is just, I can't imagine, man. You know, I can't imagine what you've seen and what you've gone through. And, you know, just thank you for your service. Congress is corrupt. Yeah, I'd imagine that governments everywhere have a certain level of corruption. No government is corruption free, because the people that make up the government, sometimes people individually are corrupt. And if you get enough corrupt government officials, then the entire government becomes corrupt, right? But I think if you look at any country on earth, every country in its different time and situation has dealt with corrupt leaders, right? And, you know, it's a very complicated and complex topic. Is it raining? Might be raining. I catch you in other chats. Well, no, you were talking earlier about all this stuff with Jake. So I'd imagine you watch Jake's streams. So I knew that you were kind of maybe telling me a story there, but you're good, man. I appreciate your support regardless, man. Listen, like I want that dude to be correct. You know, I really do. We would all be in a very more happy situation. Husky Tom, member for 2 months. I love that. A member for 2 months. Sensei, changing the subject for you. What NFL game you watching this weekend? Oh snap. Well, hey, like I think I specifically am very interested in, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff happening, right? There's the bowl games, but there's also the Rams and Seahawks. I really want to watch the Rams and Seahawks games. That's on Thursday night. You know, Packers and Bears, that should be pretty good. Packers just lost to what's it called? Like, was it just a few days ago? Like that was pretty sad to Denver, right? I thought the Packers were going to win that game, but they just Bills on Browns. Bills beat the Browns. Chargers and Cowboys. I mean, obviously, I think Chargers will probably have a better team. If Cowboys defense shows up, that could be something, but Cowboys have been pretty hit and miss. Chiefs and Titans, that's really no point. Bengals and Dolphins, no point. Yeah, like Jaguars and Broncos, that could be an interesting game. Jaguars and Broncos, that'll be interesting. Steelers and Lions, Lions, man. I think the Lions will mop the Steelers. Texans and Raiders, that's pointless. Detroit, Patriots and Ravens, I think Patriots. Baltimore -3. Really? And then Niners and Colts, Niners all the way, baby. Sensei, do the rest of your viewers know when Japan raises the interest rates? We say on Friday, what Friday? This is their Friday or Thursday afternoon. Probably not, because like I don't think most people take into consideration the time change. And so I probably some people know, and I bet some people don't. And I think I appreciate you pointing that out, because I think Japan for me is like 20 something hours difference. Let me see, what time is it in Japan for me? Let's see here, Japan, Tokyo. Right now in Japan, it is 10:24 a.m. plus 19 hours from me. So yes, so this is going to happen Thursday. Maybe that's why the markets are struggling right now, because that is happening within the next like 24 hours for some people. Bears and Packers is Saturday. So like I will put Luna's jersey on for this game for you, Husky Tom. I will do that. I am from California, Bay Area, San Mateo to be exact, and lived up and down the Bay Area. And I've also lived in Hawaii for a large portion of my life. We are all praying. We are all praying. Yeah, politics and money are not a great mix, but I think we can talk about some of this stuff without going full overboard. But those are two subjects that people are extremely passionate about, and regardless of kind of what you say, there's always going to be half the audience that disagrees with you. So that's why we try to stay away from it. Bearable guy, subject change, bearable guy. Oh, do we really need a subject change, or am I like, are we in a weird place here? Did I say something? Love you, bro. I have been a long-time follower. Thank you for all your hard work. Art, I really appreciate you, man. Thank you. Really appreciate you. Go Chargers. Yeah, see, there's a lot of people. Yeah, I'm a Niners fan. I grew up Candlestick watching the Niners. How cold that was. That was not a great stadium. I mean, there was a lot of nostalgia and history, but it was freezing right on the bay. Niners got definitely a nicer home, but it is like when you go to a Niner game, if you're not on the shady side, it sucks to be on the opposite side. I feel like. Sensei, what have you missed? Was away a bit. So pretty much, it looks like Japan is going to be raising rates. There's a rumor that it's going to be 75 basis points, and the market is kind of adjusting to that right now, I think. Is Flare a real investment for XRP? Flare is a real DeFi layer that is being built out to support XRP. I mean, it's going to support a ton of other things, but like people that own XRP are going to be able to wrap their XRP, bring it over to Flare, and there's going to be different products and services on that DeFi layer that you're going to be able to earn, yield from. They are a very serious team building very serious products. Absolutely. Yeah, Honolulu. I moved to Hawaii when I was 19, and I lived here for basically 11 years. And then I moved back to California. I had to have surgery, and that was a mess. And I got kind of stuck back there for about 7 or 8 years, and we just moved back a few years ago. Humble. Yeah, nice. Northern California. I know it well. Sensei, you're my brother from another mother. I love that. I'll take that, man. I'm always tired. Like usually when we get 2 hours into a stream, I am pretty tired. I usually get up pretty early, and sometimes I'm not able, like I have a really hard time putting things down, like the computer down and the research down, and people that know me best in my personal life will tell you that I don't have a great ability to stop, you know, and I want to know what's going on constantly. And sometimes I will work through the weekend, and you know, it's not great, but yeah, usually like Tuesdays, I get a little tired. Wednesday, Thursday, I try to rest some, and then Friday we're back on a stream. So yeah, my mom's coming. She'll be here on the 23rd. First time ever she's visited me. So I'm looking forward to spending some time with her. I'm sure there'll be some pictures I'll share of that. Hydra from the MCU. Now we're talking about Marvel. I love it. That's pretty much the same type of infiltration that has to happen with the world's governments. You know, it does feel like the world, like the elites of the world want to move to like a one world government, you know, and I don't know if that is ever going to happen or how that could happen. But I know that the EU want, you know, I don't know, we're at a really weird time right now. It feels like the US is kind of stepping back from its role as the global protector of trade and all of these different things, right? Because since World War II, you know, we've kind of basically the globe has been opened up for free trade, right? Because keep the trade route safe with the, you know, the Navy and things like that. And you know, it seems like the US wants to kind of pull back from NATO and a few other things right now, and I don't know how that's going to turn out. You know, it can be kind of scary, and I think Europe is trying to you know, build up its forces and kind of do its own thing. And so, you know, what is the next few years going to look like in the entire world? I think it'll be very complicated. And I think there's a lot of different powers right now that are moving forward with their own agendas, and how those agendas are going to intersect is going to be quite scary. And, you know, I don't know. ADHD sensei. Yeah. Yeah. You know what, like I sometimes, like, you know, I'll give you an example. Like, so like we were having the cleaners coming over on the just a few, like last week. And for some reason, you know, my wife was like telling me to put some things away, and I took something that was pretty valuable, you know, that I wanted to, like, you know, I didn't want to leave it just laying around where something could happen, right? And so I ended up putting it in the laundry basket, because I thought, like, oh, I will remember that I put this here later on and I'll come back and get it. I ended up losing that item for a full week, because I think this was like a week and a half ago. And so, like, I searched the entire house only to realize that it was in my laundry basket. So, like, you know, I won't say that I have perfect reasoning on some stuff. I often forget where I put things, because, you know, you just got so many things going on in your head at once. It's very hard for me to shut down at night. It is very, very hard for me to shut down at night. Show us Luna. All right, I got you. Give me a second here. Let me play something for you while I show you Luna. Hold on. Let me find something here. I don't want to just leave it dead air, I think. Yeah, she's probably in the other room. Give me a second here. Hold on. Let me just pull something up for you guys here real quick. Give me a second, because I want to get some more water too. Let me see here. What do we got? Is there any good news here? There's some big announcement coming from Coinbase tomorrow, I saw. Oh yeah, here, like these bankless podcasts, man. Ugh. Some of what these people say, it just irritates me. All right, here. I thought this was good. This is a good prediction. Let me play this. All right, I'll be right back in 2 seconds here.
So on the why ETF demand accelerate, there are three real reasons. First is it always happens. So if you look at any ETF in history, and I was the CEO of ETF.com before I joined Bitwise, so this is like my old turf. Year one is typically the smallest year, and then it ramps from there. If you take the gold ETF, it did 3 billion inflows its first year, and then 5 billion, then 7 billion, then 10 billion, then 18 billion. It ramped for 7 straight years. So this is just what happens in ETFs. One of the reasons this happens is a second point, which is big advisory platforms like Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch take a long time to turn on exposure to these ETFs. In fact, it's only been within the last 6 months that advisors at Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, UBS, and Wells Fargo, which control north of $10 trillion, could even invest in Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs. Now, those doors are blown wide open. So we're dealing with another audience. And then the final reason is TradFi is just slow. The average Bitwise investor on the TradFi side allocates after 8 meetings with us. If they started those meetings, yeah.
You have to suffer through 8 meetings with the same person
It's
before
not,
they
it's
give you
not
money?
suffering. I'm sure it's a pleasure.
Land. Welcome to crypto land. But here's the thing. If you started those meetings when the Bitcoin ETF launched, January 2024, and you did them quarterly, guess what? Your 8th meeting was this quarter, right? Like we're just in the sweet spot of adoption. I know that's hard for people to, but we've been doing this at Bitwise for 8 years. So that's like a fair.
I'm so glad you guys have been doing that.
Yeah.
Oh my.
8 years feels like 100. But that is true. So look, I think ETF growth will go up. The comparison to the net new supply is because I'm a very simple person. Like crypto prices are set by supply and demand. You have one source of new supply, which is blockchain rewards or staking, et cetera. And then you have this novel source of incredible demand on ETFs. And if we look into 2026, you can be very precise. At current prices, the Bitcoin network will produce $15.1 billion worth of new Bitcoin. ETFs did, well, they'll end up doing about $23 or $24 billion this year in 2025. And we think that will go up in 2026. So they'll far surpass it. Ethereum's an even stronger story, actually the strongest of the big 3 assets. Next year, we estimate about $3 billion in net new supply of ETH. We've done.
All right. Here you go. What are we doing over here? You want to say hello to people? Are we interested with my hand? Are we going to say hi? We want to go outside, but it's raining outside. So we cannot. We had an upset stomach yesterday. We weren't feeling good, right? But we're doing a little better today. Yes, yes, my little bear. Yes, 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 yes. Such a good little soul. Yes, you are. Okay. You didn't want to say anything? You want to make an announcement? No announcement for anybody? All right. All right. Go be good, okay? All right. Yeah, I think when I walk Luna, sometimes if I walk her one direction, there's kind of all weird stuff on the ground. I try to walk her towards the, a certain way, but it's been coming down. We just had the Honolulu Marathon on Sunday here, and it was crazy, but it was pouring rain. What are your thoughts on Stellar? I think Stellar is highly capable of being an important piece of the new financial market in the retail side. And I think they have a good team, and they're gonna do big things. Fence yard for my crazy lunatic. Love that. Yeah. What are your thoughts? What are your price predictions? There you go. I'll just have Luna give XRP price predictions. It'll have the same weight as Jake's. Do you think the amount of XRP Ripple holds in escrow is a bit concerning? So this is a great question, Pancake, and I'm glad you brought it up. So let's talk about it. Okay, so Ripple created the escrow specifically because people thought they were going to dump all the tokens at a certain point, right? And there was fear around that. And they created the escrow to be to only allow a certain amount of XRP being released per month. Usually it's 1 billion. And if you look at the release since, I looked at the last few years, 2024, 80, they basically would release 1 billion and then they would relock up 80%, 800 million is what they would relock up. And some months they unlocked a little less, put a little less and then relocked up a little less, but it's been about 80. And then so this year it's about 70%. So most every month they've relocked 700 million tokens. Now there is one month where they only relocked, I think like 560 million, but they're like, if you look at last month, December, they still relocked up 700 million. It was like 400 and 300 million. So if you go by the same kind of tally of what they've been doing, I'd imagine next year they're going to do 600 million relock. And I think they're going to keep doing that. Now, there is some stuff in the Clarity Act as it currently stands that would force them to either divulge who owns some of that XRP. They would need to bring that down to below 20%. Now, I don't know if that gets passed like that through the Senate, but that is something that could cause them to either have to unload billions of XRP or disclose who actually owns that XRP. So, am I worried about it? I am not. I personally am not. I think they've done a really good job being stewards of the escrow. And, I gotta trust that they're going to make the right decision, not only for the XRP space and the community, but for Ripple, the company, and global liquidity. Yeah, XLM, XDC, always hear people talking positive things about those. So Ripple, the company, owns that XRP, not the owners of the company. Now, Chris Larson has his own XRP supply and Arthur Brito and those people. But David Schwartz did highlight that institutions or, companies could come in and buy a particular wallet that holds a certain amount of XRP. You still have to wait for the unlocks though. Now, and this is speculation because we don't know for sure, but if all of that XRP was spoken for, wouldn't Ripple give that XRP to who it was spoken for to? Like that is something that, I spend some time thinking about as well. So hard to know, but we should get some more information depending on what happens with the Clarity Act. Yeah, I know. The time zone can get pretty crazy. I know. But, it's good. It's good when you're here, it's like, streaming at this time, I try to line it up for people, it doesn't get too late because I know at the end of the day, I just want to spend time with my family and watch, a good TV program or something, unwind. And I hate kind of getting it where it's too late for people. Yeah, SHX, I think, has a lot of value as well. Doesn't the locking and relocking of XRP have direct correlation with supply shock? Yeah. I mean, if they release all 1 billion units and kind of flood the market, that would not be great because then there would be more available XRP and the price would suffer. So them, relocking hundreds of millions per month is actually better for us in the long run. It's 3:40 Hawaii time. 3:40, right? 3:40. Yeah, we don't do the time change. Hawaii, when the time changes in the US, Hawaii does not follow the time change. So we're always going to be, like right now I'm 2 hours behind PST. When the time changes, I'm 3 hours behind PST. I don't, there's a lot of smart people talking about CBIC. I don't own any. I don't have any vested interest in it. But it does feel like they're doing a lot in the payment space, streaming payments and things like that. So, I think like Jake just covered ZBIC, and I know one of the original people that talked about ZBIC was Zach Rector. And so I would rely on their expertise. I just don't know anything about them. Pineapple farmers don't care about more sunlight. I don't know, man. We got good pineapple though. Yeah, I know. Yeah, she listens very closely. Luna's, you know, she pays attention to everything. You know, when you're talking to her, she does the whole head tilt, and you know, she's a great dog. She's my bestie. Your stream is a perfect time for us in the Midwest people, aka Bears fans, driving home now, just listening to Alpha. Husky Tom, thank you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. Luna London is 15 pounds. Do you have a dog named Luna too, Nelson? A lot of Lunas, a lot of people who have dogs named Luna. My best friend's girlfriend, Luna. I like Luna. We were going back and forth on names, and Husky Tom is driving home in traffic, gifting memberships to people. Man, that is, thank you, Husky Tom. I appreciate you. Yeah, Tom is driving and gifting subs at the same time. That man can do multiple things at once. Luna equals alpha. Love that. No hype. Just picked up a membership. Love that. Uh-oh. Here. Let me show you what happens. Like when I stream for too long, Luna tells me when it's time. Luna tells me when it's time to get off for streaming because she sits there and she stares at me. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, listen. When Luna says it's time to stop streaming, I got to listen to her. I appreciate you guys. I'll be here on Friday. I will keep you up to date all this week. I've just made a ton of content covering all aspects. I will cover what's going on in Japan and every single bit of news and piece of information I can get my hands on that I think is valuable to you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for all of the mods and everybody that left a donation today. I really appreciate that. That does go to support Luna's dietary health and good treats for her. And just, I appreciate you, right? Thank you so much. And I will see you guys on Friday. All right? All right. Aloha, guys. Bye.